Something tells me if you open your door to the sweet-seeking Sawyer, you shouldn't stick your hands out while you're giving your handouts. Here's your look at the NECA Ben Cooper Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface action figure with costume and mask. The Ben Cooper Costume Kids Collection is back with Series 9, bringing a fresh batch of spooky trick-or-treaters to your shelf. Based on the licensed kid costumes from one of the largest Halloween costume manufacturers from the 1950s to 80s, these fully posable 6-inch figures perfectly capture the vintage charm of the looks from that era. This wave features NECA's original designs in the style of Ben Cooper costumes, as if they were produced today, reimagining legendary horror villains, wearing a mask and soft goods clothing, replicating the vinyl look of classic costumes. Each frightful figure comes complete with a movie-specific trick-or-treat bag or pumpkin bucket accessory. Each figure is sold separately and packaged in a number retro-style box that pays homage to the classic costume packaging. Trick-or-treat, smell his feet, give him something made of meat. Before we go through his bag and find out if there's any human remains in there, we're going to take the tape measure. We're going to see how tall the Ben Cooper Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface stands. My first foray into collecting the Ben Cooper figures. It really does seem like a line that would have been right up my alley, and yet, just for more reasons of just the availability of them, they've been next to impossible to find. They seem to have been quite easy to produce from NECA's part, the fact that we're now into Wave 9. I would imagine, though, that they're probably using somewhat of the same body and then just slapping on new vinyl clothing and giving the figure a mask, which I'm sure is exactly what they've done. But there's certainly, though, a charm to be said for at least the Slaughter clan here. We're going to go ahead and take the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. And like I said, we'll kind of bring in some other examples as well. For the tape measure telling us, it's going to tell us, in fact, that Leatherface stands about 5 3/4 of an inch in height. And he's going to be working out to be a figure that's 14 centimeters tall. Call it a hunch, but NECA's likely just used the bodies from the Trick-or-Treater 3-pack that we've gotten from Halloween 3. As the examples I'm going to be bringing in right now, the jack-o'-lantern, obviously the witch on the other side, and the skeleton all seem to be using the same body as Leatherface. I just watched the actually 80s made-for-TV movie, The Midnight Hour. What a great film. And actually, there was a kid at the beginning of the movie that was trying to put a playing card inside the spoke of his tire and ended up causing his finger to bleed, but he was actually wearing the Halloween 3 skeleton mask. I think this mask, in fact, has gotten quite a lot of mileage. There's a couple of made-for-TV movies, some TV episodes, in fact, that even had that mask. I think even Knight Rider had, in fact, maybe not Michael Knight, but I think there was an episode of Knight Rider where the mask was there as well. Now, we're looking at, obviously, the Halloween 3 mask, but if we're going to be talking anything about Bubba, we'd have to bring in another example of him, and here's what the figures look like. With the 50th, was it the 50th anniversary? The ultimate Leatherface that we looked at recently here on the channel. Yeah, 50 years of hooking up with hitchhikers, it's hard to believe. What's also hard to believe is the fact that Leatherface, for I'm sure the first time, has not come included with his chainsaw. Most of these trick-or-treaters that I've seen online tend to only really come included with their trick-or-treating bag, which just happens to be right there. Want to see it? I thought you would. The bag itself actually is made of kind of more of like a laminated plastic, although the inside of it kind of feels more like cardboard. Like the outside feels like laminated, but then the inside feels like cardboard. The outside, though, I love the look of Leatherface here. It says, "Have a Halloween Massacre." I don't know if he's actually cut through the pumpkin. It looks like he's probably carved the pumpkin with a chainsaw. That's some precision cutting. The same image, though, is still on the back. So, I mean, there's not really much that does change between the two. And there's a little handle that he can hook onto his hand. I'm going to bring in the trick-or-treating bags that we got here from the Trick-or-Treaters Halloween 3-pack. Two of them are just kind of more paper bags. This was the one that looks a little bit more interesting. You can kind of see that they've essentially just used the same blueprint, cut out the same template, put the same handle in place, and then it's just done different images on the front. I've also picked up a couple of other Ben Coopers, one that we will be looking at actually during Halloween. You probably already know which one it's going to be. One thing I did want to actually make mention, though, is that the Halloween, or the Leatherface, his trick-or-treating bag is thicker than the one that we got with the Trick-or-Treaters. The Trick-or-Treaters was a little bit thinner of a plastic, and it wasn't also printed on both sides. So he does do a little bit better for that. Like I said, though, that you can take the bag, and you can just hook it around his hand. The plastic for the hand is really hard, rigid plastic. It's that kind of plastic that you really have to heat first before you do anything else with it. But the way that's at least designed, it's easy to get that around his thumb and his finger. You can either carry it around that way, or what you can also do too is that the figure does have at his possession bendable elbows. So you can take, well, I guess you would really want to have the hands turned this way, and you can kind of just have him hooked around the bag this way and just kind of more open it up like he's looking for treats. Again, I just want to again stress this, the clan, the family that he's from. I don't think he's looking for the kind of treats that you're willing to offer. So again, you can kind of just hook it around his hand. Not the easiest thing to do. I mean, like I said, it's hard just because like you have to get it around his finger and his thumb. It is something though that you can be successful with, just with a little bit of patience. Let's remove the bag for right now. We'll put it off to the side. Now, some of these Ben Cooper figures do come also included with pails. The one that we will be looking at during the spooky spot season, and again, you probably already know which one it's going to be, does actually come included with a jack-o'-lantern, a bucket. I'm sure I've already now given it away. What I won't be giving away, though, is the identity of this child. The one thing that was kind of disappointing, and not knowing this going into this, because first time picking up a Ben Cooper figure, I assumed that the mask would have been removable. It's not. What you actually get, though, is just a faux kind of strap that's wrapped around the back of the character's head. It's not like a real elastic. It's only just there by suggestion alone. So, like, unfortunately with the mask, there's no real way to remove it. The front of the face, though, as you can see, does have very, very dark eyes. Very hard to actually make out. But I thought, though, maybe I would be able to pry this off. Would there be like a face underneath? And the more I kind of peel this away, there's that kind of buckling going on and that sound that does tell me, stop doing what you're doing. Don't move any further with this. You're only going to break the mask. I would think, though, if I was successful at prying this off, I don't think there's any hidden Easter eggs behind that. I think what I'd have is unfinished face, which is somewhat then ironic that I say an unfinished face and dealing, of course, with someone like, Big Bubba Sawyer. The actual look of the body, though, is just Velcroed on the back. So ideally, though, if you were to unvelcro the back of the body, you'd be able to undo and take off the whole entire outfit. But what really would only be underneath, though, is just a regular human body. I think this same body, in fact, was also used for, I think, the young Jason Voorhees as well, that was packed along with Pamela. I think that, in fact, like this body's been used a couple of times. Maybe it's also been used with Kevin from Home Alone. So again, like the body has gotten around. It's the same body that if you look at like the trick-or-treaters, I don't think there's anything at all that's different between the two. The hands are sculpted the same as well. The only thing that is different, though, is when you look at the trick-or-treaters, they're actually using more of a felt costume, where with these being based on the Ben Cooper designs, the original plastic suits were essentially just that. They were just like a plastic sheet that you put over top of the body. Some were lucky enough, in fact, where you actually got yourself a finished body on front and on the back. My very first Halloween costume, I kid you not, in kindergarten when I was in grade 5, when I was 5 in kindergarten, was actually a Master Universe He-Man. And from what I remember, I don't even think it even had a back to it. I think it had just like strings, and you tied it around your arms and you tied it around your legs. The whole front was finished, so it looked like He-Man with a bandolier, and it did have his muscle suit. But from what I remember, I don't think it had any back to it at all. And of course, it did have the He-Man mask on the front. One thing that was known for being Ben Cooper designs was a lot of times you wouldn't actually even get the character's look. So like Leatherface may not have even had the tie or the apron. It may have actually just been an image of Leatherface. I think there was an episode of The Simpsons where Milhouse was dressed as Radioactive Man, and Lisa had in fact looked at the costume and said, I don't even think Radioactive Man would have a costume where it would have his own face on the front of it. But that was the kind of the charm of the Ben Cooper designs. This one actually looks more like really Leatherface, that it does have the tie, it does have, of course, the apron. It doesn't have something that you obviously would have seen in the movie where he just brands himself Texas Chainsaw Massacre with a whole lot of blood splattered around it. The material that they're using is kind of more like a pleather. It's that nylon material, which I think would hold up generally well. I would probably recommend, by the way that it's seamed on the inside like this, don't do any severe leg splitting, because that would certainly split the seam, and that would disappoint. That would certainly frustrate Leatherface. But overall, like, the costume is for what it is. I mean, it looks okay. He does have like little sneakers there on the bottom. I think, though, are these the same sneakers? I think that they are. They're the same sneakers. The only thing that's missing actually is the sock. But it looks like they are maybe using the same feet as the jack-o'-lantern, just obviously just a different color. The figure's posability, if you are familiar, though, with the trick-or-treaters, would be somewhat of the same idea here, too. So, like, the head sculpt for the Leatherface here would have, of course, the ball joint. Yeah, it would. So you'd be able to move the head up and down, rock it back and forth. You could also, as well, rotate this all the way around. Now, I don't know, though, if they're going to be using the exact same head with all the Ben Cooper designs. I think they probably, from what I've seen, have several different heads, and they're sort of rotating around them. Clearly, they're also going to be changing the skin color. They're also going to be changing the color of the hair. So even if it is the case that they're just using the bodies again, there's enough at least color changes that they can do them so they look like they're different kids. It's not just this lucky kid that gets to go out trick-or-treating every Halloween wearing a different outfit every time. For the arms, though, they hinge out. I did notice, though, with the arms, they are a little on the tighter side. You can also only bring out the arms so far, because while the arms may have a bit of give, this section here gets a little tight. Luckily, there's enough slack right around there, so at least there's enough movement to move it around. You can move the arms forward. You can move them, obviously, back there as well. If you move up the arm, there is a bicep swivel from the looks of it. There is also a double hinge on the elbow, so at least they didn't phone it in there. And the hands rotate all the way around and a hinge back and forth. Upper torso seems to be at least on a ball joint, maybe a swivel joint only. There's no articulation down below here from what it seems. Again, there's much more of a split than I would think that you'd be able to do right now, but I wouldn't really move the legs any more than what I'm doing, just because, again, it gets really tight down here. Not that I just want to stay away from that, but I mean, like, again, I wouldn't want to bring them out too far, because, again, that's going to start to split the seam. Legs move forward, they move back. There's a swivel there at the top of the thigh, a double hinge on the knee. And for the feet have what seems to be ball joints, not the days of the old hinge joints from like the old retro cloth figures. There definitely seems to be a ball joint happening there. And of course, the figures do have peg holes in the bottoms of the feet. Not a bad looking figure. I mean, yeah, I know, Wave 9. We're kind of way late getting into looking at these. I like the charm of these. Like, I can certainly see why people would have been collecting all the way up to Wave 9, all the Ben Cooper figures from NECA. Again, when you bring in the other examples, what examples at least I have would be of the skull, the jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lantern still is my favorite. And, of course, the witch, from the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch Trick-or-Treaters set. Now, I think from the cost standing of this, when we think of, like, retro cloth figures, it's an easy thing for NECA to produce, because a lot of times they're just using a body that they already have in stock. They only need to really remold a new head, and then they have to just essentially give them brand new clothing. I think even with the Ben Cooper, it's an even easier task for NECA to accomplish this, because they probably are using, probably 2 or 3 different heads, and they're only just molding that and slapping on a brand new mask piece every single time, and then just giving a different bit of clothing. So it's certainly a more cheaper route that they could have gone. I could certainly then understand why they've produced as many as they have. For there, of course, the accessories, all of them are only going to really be coming included with their trick-or-treating bag, or their bucket, or their pail. Leatherface doesn't come included with a pail, which would have been really perfect, because there would have been a place to store the extra hands, the extra arms, the limbs, and everything else he's cutting along the way while he's cutting in line to get to people's doorsteps. But at least he gets himself a pretty neat, nifty-looking trick-or-treating bag that says, "Have a happy Halloween massacre" on the front, and him trying his best to carve a jack-o'-lantern with such very little new tooling that's required. I can certainly, though, understand why NECA's already into Wave 9 of these Ben Cooper kids, just because, again, like the cost of producing them, they already have the body, they likely already have the head. All they really then have to do is resculpt brand new mask pieces that aren't removable in the first place, and give the kids some clothing. Now, I can also see why, not only was there Wave 9 of these, but with the price of what they generally are selling for, I picked these up. I picked up actually Leatherface, and I picked up a couple more. I paid only really about like $23 a piece for these, and that's not bad at all. For $23 to $25, yeah, you only get one figure with just a bag or a pail for an accessory. But I think, like, I can see the appeal of why collectors collect as many of these as they do. You know, with these, like with the Leatherface, there's clearly not an original nostalgic costume to base it from. Ben Cooper did a whole bunch of monster figure costumes, like from the 70s to the 80s. There was like Dracula's. Like I said, they've done a whole bunch of different cool monster costumes. They haven't done a Leatherface, though, but NECA's sort of taken the reins from what Ben Cooper designed in the first place and have run with it. So, like, what we're getting now with Wave 9, we're getting not only like the Leatherface, there's also been like the Pennywise, there's a Terrifier, there's a Jigsaw, and there's also a Michael Myers. Yeah, the Michael Myers. But what do you guys think of these? Let me know down below in the comment section. Have you guys at all been collecting the Ben Cooper Kids collection? And if you have, let me know what you guys think of them. Also, let me know if you've ever worn a Ben Cooper costume as a kid. I mean, again, I told you my story of in kindergarten. I was like 5 years old, and I wore myself a Master Universe He-Man. It's funny, though, enough that my friend in school wore the exact same costume. He was smart, though. He didn't wear the mask to school. I wore my He-Man and ended up cracking the plastic. Very thin quality plastic molding. It was vac plastic molding for the masks. And then it literally just was a sheet that you tied around the limbs. We didn't even have the benefit of a full costume either. I don't think from what I remember, the He-Man was only just a front face. If anybody remembers the Ben Cooper Kids costume of He-Man, let me know if it was only just a front sheet. I feel like it was. It certainly wasn't the full sheet like we're getting here for Leatherface. The Leatherface does have, again, like the basic body from the same trick-or-treaters at the 3-pack. But again, like with a brand new head sculpt, different costume, it's kind of cool. I got to admit, I like these, and I can certainly understand why collectors get as many as they do, and I can understand why also, unfortunately to my wallet, I'm likely going to be picking up more of these. If you guys did enjoy this video, you can do it a solid and throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. I hope so. We're not going to be looking at Ben Cooper anymore this week, at least. But I will tell you, though, we will be looking at more of these in the upcoming weeks leading up to Halloween. We'll be giving away here. But again, to make sure that you're not missing out on anything, turn on the bell notification. Make sure you hit the subscribe. That's the biggest crucial thing. And come back. We're always got new video content coming your way. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.